Hello everyone and welcome to this very special Direct if E3 2020 took place. Over the next 40 minutes or so, I'll be joined by Rogersbase, Stealth 40k and Nintendaan to talk over what could have been in the Nintendo Direct if we had an E3 in 2020. We'll be going over games, we'll be going over the current situation, and we'll be also predicting what could happen in the next few months, when we can expect the next Nintendo Direct, and also a few extras. In this regard, it is only fitting that we dedicate this production to the memory of our good friend Desmond Daniel Amofa. Edeka reacted to the E3 2019 Nintendo Direct on June 11th, 1 year ago, as his very last livestream with the Joy-Con boys. This damn good one is to you, Joy-Con King. We know you're watching us from above, so let's
get it! Alright, so what do you guys think about Smash Bros. And ARMS? Who's the ARMS character going to be? What Smash Bros. Characters are we going to get next? And are we going to get the announcement of any new Smash character after the reveal of whoever the ARMS rep is going to be?
Oh, it's a good question, because it's a matter of the basic choice, which would be Springman and Ribbon Girl, and the popular choice, which would be Twintelle and Min Min.
Right, and I've seen the argument that you could do a Springtron assist trophy that would show up on the stage if you're playing a Springman, similar to like if you have Toon Link on the Spirit Track stage, and then it's Alfonso instead, like they could switch them out. But I really actually genuinely don't want that. I think I want it to be Twintelle or Min Min. I think I really would just prefer it to be one of those two characters. I feel like not only are they very popular, but we do just need more girls. And Springman is kind of like a boring character to me. You've got such a wide range of characters in ARMS with really cool personalities and stuff that just go with Springman would be kind of like the basic choice.
You know, I've gone back and forth about this topic, and while I know Min Min and Twintelle are very, very popular, you know, considering that this is the first character from this franchise, I just can't not see it being the cover characters, you know, either Springman or Ribbon Girl. So I just have a feeling, you know, Springman, his assist trophy is going to be removed, and they're going to make a main character, and, you know, 4 of his costumes are going to be Ribbon Girl or something like that.
But the bigger question I have is if this is all tied to a bigger reveal, say ARMS 2.
Now, I personally would love ARMS 2. I mean, you guys know this. I have been waiting for a sequel for ARMS literally since that first game came out. I'm one of the only people that I know that has 120 hours in the original ARMS game. I love it. And I've met a couple other people, like Nintendaan. He loves it. And Eddie from Golan, he really likes it too. But there's not very many of us. And so, yeah, I would love to see some sort of sequel game that maybe has like an in-depth single-player mode. Like, I feel like you already have all the cool jumping mechanics in ARMS, that you could do something really cool with maybe some platform stages in a single player, and maybe just a little bit more of a story as well.
Financially, ARMS sold over 2 million units, which for any fighting game is pretty phenomenal, and that alone would warrant, you know, the green light of a sequel. And, you know, as many fighting game sequels go, once you have the base, it gets much easier to just add a few new characters, add some new mechanics, and yeah, I definitely think that, you know, an ARMS 2 is likely to happen.
That settles it. ARMS 2 could have been revealed at E3, because what we're talking about is pretty much what would have been if we had an E3. And Smash is very, very heavy during E3 presentations. We saw that definitely in 2018, and we also saw that in 2019 when we got not 1 but 2 characters revealed in the same presentation. Hero and Banjo-Kazooie. So, do you think we would also see the reveal of a second character if we had E3?
I do. Yeah, I think it would have been that the ARMS character shadow dropped, and that the new character gets announced at the end of the presentation. And I have a feeling it probably would have been like a bigger third-party character as opposed to somebody who's just like another first-party. Right now, my bets are on Paper Mario, considering the fact that there's a new Paper Mario game coming out. But if this was a reveal at E3, I think it would have been someone along the lines of like Dante or 2B or something like that.
Super Mario is turning 35 years this year, and we already have Paper Mario the Origami King, which was revealed back in May, but we are waiting for something bigger, for a collection of the absolutely best 3D Mario games, or actually all of them, that are still not in HD. Do you think we'll get that 35th anniversary Mario collection would have been revealed in the Nintendo Direct if there was E3 20?
Oh, absolutely. Or at the very least, I think it would have been detailed in greater depth, right? Because there was the rumor that there was going to be a Mario Direct all the way back in April that eventually got delayed, which is where all these rumors were coming from in the first place, about like a 35th anniversary collection, and then the Lego Mario thing that was supposed to be in a Direct, but then Lego took it down. So my guess is that all of this would have already been revealed at this point if we weren't in the situation that we are. So my guess is, yeah, we're definitely, or we would have at least gotten more details about 64 Sunshine Galaxy Collection, as well as a port of 3D World to Switch. I don't think 3D World's going to be part of that collection, and I also don't believe that Galaxy 2 is going to be included with the original Galaxy and Sunshine, though I would really love it to be. That's personally one of my favorite Mario games. And as somebody who's not like the biggest Mario fan in the world, me really, really liking one, I think says a lot to it. So yeah, I would love to see that.
And the thing is that it's the perfect moment, and like Nintendo could have done 64 HD next year for the 25th anniversary, but it makes much more sense to do a collection of 64 Sunshine, Galaxy, and Galaxy 2 for the 35th anniversary of Super Mario. But what do you think, Stealth?
Yeah, I also definitely think that these games were going to be revealed, either at E3 or in a direct prior. And as Roger said, 3D World Deluxe is its own separate kind of part of the rumor. And yeah, I mean, 64, Sunshine, and Galaxy would absolutely be showstoppers. I mean, you can do a direct just based on that, and people will go crazy.
Yeah, like one of the things I would definitely see is the big upgrade to 64. Like 64, unlike Sunshine and Galaxy 2, which would be more of remasters, I see 64 as a complete remake with double camera controls, because one of the biggest backdraws of Super Mario 64 these days, almost 25 years after it came out, is the camera. I think everyone agrees on that.
Yeah, I would love to see a camera overhaul, but I feel like in terms of mechanics of the game, I feel like a lot of people would be upset if they actually went in and changed the physics of Mario 64. I think so much of what makes that game fun and why it's been so timeless over the years is all the weird little like jump glitches you can do and all the funny little things in the original game. So I would like them to remaster it one-on-one without really changing too much. And I do wonder if there's a way to do that without tampering with any of the actual like mechanics of the game, if you can just add in a new camera and that's it.
Would you expect the DS content to be included in this?
No way. No way. Absolutely not. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it, but I don't think there's any chance that they're going to do that.
I mean, yeah, there's really no reason why you can't put all of those games out. There's just, I just don't understand why not. But yeah. I want to believe that they're all going to be included. I want to believe it.
We all agree that 3D World Deluxe is definitely not going to be a part of this collection. It's going to be
it's going to be a separate thing. Most likely with new content too, is my guess.
Well, that's what the rumor said, is Deluxe would have extra characters and some new worlds, so...
Oh,
yeah,
really?
That's what the rumor said.
What were the rumored extra characters?
That wasn't talked about, but...
I'd put money on Pauline.
Or maybe even Cappy. Imagine 3D World Deluxe with capture mechanics, but in the 2D space. That would be absolutely great. Like, I would absolutely love that. And it would definitely be an instant buy for so many people. And just look at the sales numbers of Super Mario Odyssey. Nintendo was planning, no doubt, a very big Mario year for 2020. Super Nintendo World is very, very heavily Mario themed. We see the Lego Mario collection. We saw the reveal of Paper Mario the Origami King, which definitely would have had another trailer or gameplay showcase. And obviously we also have 3D World Deluxe. So it was planned to be the year of Mario, much like 2015 was with Super Mario Maker, but more of a remaster and smaller IPs.
I'm still shocked to this day we never got DLC for that game, which leads me to believe that I feel like at some point we're going to get an Odyssey 2, but I just don't necessarily think if we are getting a Mario collection and World Deluxe and Paper Mario that we would necessarily get an Odyssey 2 this year as well.
Yeah, the only other Mario game that like is even a remote possibility is Camelot, has been pretty quiet for a while. I could see them put out a Mario Golf. Maybe not the year that all these other Mario games are coming out, but like within the first 3 months of 2021 for sure. We'll definitely see a Mario Golf.
I think one of the Mario sports games is definitely going to hit the Switch sooner rather than later. But this year is going to be focused on celebrating the legacy of Mario. And it was supposed to be that also with the opening of Super Nintendo World. It's pretty much done at this point. It's just that the situation around the world doesn't allow for opening for the time being. So it looks like everything will be postponed to 2021. But then again, 2021 might be another Mario year. Only that it will have to share with a different game, which we'll get back to at the very end of this video. So stay tuned for that. It's time to talk about the games that are more likely to come out, well, at least would have been revealed with a title at E3 2020. And we begin with one that has been anticipated for a very long time, since we have seen concept art of this for multiple years, and that is Monolith Soft's new IP.
Yes, I have been craving a new Monolith Soft IP, especially considering the fact that, Xenoblade just came out. I'm really loving replaying through Definitive Edition, and I am just hankering to see what they are going to actually make next. We know that they've been working on this alongside Xenoblade, so it's got to be a pretty big project, and I imagine that there's a lot of people at Monolith Soft that are also working on Breath of the Wild 2, considering Monolith Soft's involvement with the first Breath of the Wild. But I still expect this would have been like a really big, grand adventure. And if it's anything like that concept art we saw with like the Night Girl, I think it could have been a really cool open world action RPG type game. I'm always for new IPs, new Nintendo IPs. I think that's so important to keep the brand going and to sort of keep people excited about what's to come in the future.
Yeah, like the feeling I had from the concept art is that it feels like a Western RPG, and that Monolith Soft kind of want to create like a Witcher style game maybe with this, or challenge the big open worlds that we have seen in so many different developers and publishers coming out in the recent years.
And I think they went out of their way to say it's a fantasy game, correct? We could imply that from the concept art with dragons and knights and things, but yeah, it does. And so I would be fascinated to see what they would do with that, like you said, with like a Western aesthetic, with things like dragons and, medieval type castles and things like that. Knowing how great they did with the Xenoblade franchise, I can only imagine it being good.
Exactly, and it feels like the Xenoblade Chronicle has now been concluded. They could just bring X, a port of that, Deluxe or whatever they want to call it, in the spring of 2021, and then come with the new IP at the end of the year. And I think that would work perfectly, because that way you get all the Xenoblade games on the Switch, and you also get this new big IP that will be the most ambitious title by Monolith Soft. And because I think this game would have been revealed at E3 if it was happening, because now Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition is out. It's going to be a while until we get anything about Xenoblade Chronicles X, because it's too soon after having a remaster, remake, and have another remaster. So it makes more sense to reveal another new game and then make people, just start the waiting period and promotion period for that game. And Stealth, do you expect that this game would have ended with a 2021?
I could almost imagine them saying, have you guys been enjoying playing Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition? We just released this last month, and we know that a lot of you are longtime Xenoblade fans. Let's take a look at what the new project from the team that makes Xenoblade is working on, and then they transition into the trailer. I actually feel like that would have been their bigger push, because to me, like obviously hardcore gamers, big Nintendo fans, like we know what Monolith Soft is, but you gotta remember who the directs are for. It's for the general public, and I think if they just say, a new Monolith Soft IP, to a lot of people that wouldn't mean anything. But if they say from the team that made Xenoblade, I think that would get a lot of people talking.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's very possible that they might have teased the next entry. I'm just wondering how far along it truly is, because Takahashi really only just admitted the fact, even though we all knew it to be true, that they have a new IP. So yeah, I'm definitely wondering exactly what direction they're going to go in, because
it might be their moment. Like CD Projekt Red was stuck with The Witcher for 3 games, and now they're doing Cyberpunk 2077. I feel it's kind of the same situation for Monolith Soft and this new IP.
Yeah, but I certainly don't think the Xenoblade Chronicles series is like dead now. I think they are going to make something else in the future. It's become a pretty big franchise that I don't think they would just like drop it all together. Yes, they definitely need a break, and I think that's exactly what this new IP is going to be. Like, I don't expect to see another Xenoblade game, a new Xenoblade game on the Switch.
Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 is likely not coming out this year, and we'll get back to that at the very end of this Nintendo Direct E3 2020. But there's always, or at least in the recent years, we have had one Zelda game, no matter what. And the question is, what would it be?
I'm guessing it's going to be another remake game. Now, I don't know if that would be a full-on remake in the vein of like Link's Awakening, where maybe they go back to one of the Oracle games and remake it with the Link's Awakening engine, or if they just do what everybody's asking for, which is Skyward Sword. I feel like if they just remaster Skyward Sword, throw it on the Switch, I feel like the motion controls work good with the Joy-Cons, so there's no reason why you can't just redo Skyward Sword. Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess, they've played through Ocarina of Time on the 3DS and Majora's Mask on the 3DS, so it really is like the one big one that hasn't been re-released in the near future. Heck, we even got, like I said, Link's Awakening, plus we had Link Between Worlds, plus Link to the Past is on the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, and the original Zelda games are on the NES Entertainment System online thing too. So it makes a lot of sense for them to just re-release Skyward Sword, and that does seem like something that would appeal to people and really get people excited, that wouldn't just be a simple Wii U port. Because I think all of us are in unanimous agreement. We would love to see Wind Waker HD, Twilight Princess HD come to Switch, but I feel like releasing too many Wii U ports one after the other, or too many like remake games one after the other that aren't different enough from each other might be a problem for them.
If the big Zelda push is going to be next year, it's obvious that they can't launch Skyward Sword HD for the 10th anniversary. That makes Skyward Sword HD perfect for this year, more than next year. So I just think that Zelda would have probably had a presence. We would have gotten a review of something, but it's just that I don't think it would be more than a remaster.
Obviously we've all been hearing the rumors about Pikmin 3, but do you guys think this would have actually been the year for Pikmin 4? Because we've known about that game being in development for so long now, and it does seem like one of those smaller IPs similar to ARMS that they could potentially keep secret until maybe like a month or two before its official release. And I think that would work really nicely as one of the fall games if they were going to choose to do that. So I was just curious, do you think we would get the Pikmin 3 re-release maybe in summer, and then boom, we get a new game in fall? Or at the very least, like an announcement of the game with maybe a 2021 at the end of the trailer?
I agree with your second notion there, Roger, because Pikmin, I think they just want to get rid of all the games that didn't perform that well on the Wii U to perform better on the Switch. They started obviously with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, then they continue with a long list of games. And now we have reached a point that they're going to do Super Mario 3 World Deluxe, which is obviously going to sell very well on the Switch because it's a very good game. Pikmin, I think, needs to have Pikmin 3 first and then reveal Pikmin 4, but launch it after you have launched a Nintendo Switch Pro, since Nintendo was not going to talk about Nintendo Switch Pro at all. So I just think that is a perfect candidate for a game that could look absolutely stunning with that little extra hardware boost and really show the difference between the base model Switch and Switch Pro.
And that would explain why we haven't seen it yet, too. I think that's a big question, is we know that the new Pikmin game's been in development since Wii U. So we could assume if they transferred over all those assets from Wii U to the Switch, that the majority of those would probably still work. But yeah, maybe they do just want that extra boost in power, that extra graphical jump, and the Switch Pro could provide that. So yeah, that's a good call. Now, the other thing I want to bring up, though, and I would love to talk to you guys about this, is if you've noticed, the Nintendo Tokyo store recently revealed a bunch of new merchandise. They have like the Mario set, the Zelda set, the Animal Crossing set. They even have like little Pikmin design things. But the one big IP that Nintendo keeps pushing alongside all their major franchises recently is Splatoon. And I'm sure both of you guys are aware of this. We had that weird SOS Save Our Salmon Happy New Year's card from the Splatoon team. And I think a lot of people are assuming that maybe the Splatoon team is also the same team that's making Animal Crossing, and do they just assume that all the Splatoon developers went over to Animal Crossing? But I don't think that's the case. I don't necessarily think Splatoon 3 is something that would have been shown at this E3, but I think something Splatoon related, either some type of maybe new type of Splatoon game or maybe even a mobile game, would have been something that we would have seen at this year's show.
I think it's definitely a possibility, because we need to think, how long has it been since Splatoon 2 came out? It's actually 3 years. Believe it or not, it's 3 years. So I think a reveal of Splatoon 3 would make sense after 3 years after. The great thing about Splatoon is that you can just build on top of what already exists. New hairstyles, new weapons, new apparel, and so on. It's like, yeah, just do it. And I actually think that Splatoon 3 could work as a holiday game, especially with Xbox going very hard with Halo. I think that a shooter that is really selling gangbusters, especially in Japan, Splatoon 3 could actually be... I wouldn't be surprised if that actually could be the holiday game.
Yeah, when you lay it out like that, I think I agree.
Yeah, I mean, Splatoon is too popular now just to let the series go dormant for too long. It's one of the top 3 most popular series in Japan. And yeah, I mean, in terms, I do think that series is like ripe for a side game of some sort, like a strategy game or even like a rhythm game like we had. Just something that's using that IP. It's just too good not to use.
And so it would be interesting to see if they would iterate on Splatoon in the same way, a lot of major shooter franchises do, right? We've had multiple Halo games on Xbox. There's been multiple Call of Duty games and other systems during the same console generation. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a sequel game to Splatoon come out on the same system that the previous game came out on. But because they're so tied to the story, I do wonder if they would want to handle that franchise, at least with the main numbered entries, sort of how they do with a lot of their other stuff where you get one each generation.
I think that this would be the last Splatoon on the Switch, obviously. That's a given. But still think it's possible to have that we could have had in this Direct the reveal and then launch it sometime in November or December, since there's nothing else than a Pokemon DLC maybe coming around that same time, or a Smash DLC character. And I think that is going to be how Nintendo fills out the rest of the year. And actually, they could do a competitive focus in, say, getting ARMS 2 in October and then Splatoon 3 in November. That would be a perfect lineup, if you ask me.
I agree. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay then, let's move over to third-party reveals and releases, because we need to fill out the months in between, because we have filled out July. Maybe that leaves us with August, September, or either October, November, December, somewhere. I think 2 Nintendo games, or even 3, will fill out. Mario is probably going to fill out September with the Mario Collection, since that is the month of the anniversary. That's also when Super Mario Maker came out back in 2015. So it's pretty obvious that they're going to launch it around that time. Then I think the holiday game was launched probably in November in order to make Black Friday sales, and just like they did with Pokemon last year. And then I think that August and October/December will be the months where they fill out with third-party games. And the big ones that we know is coming out this year is No More Heroes 3. And I think this summer we are getting the launch date, new trailers and so on, but it would have been in the Nintendo Direct if there was an E3 2020.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about that. And in fact, Suda just released the first screenshot of No More Heroes 3. So, yeah, he did. Yeah, I tweeted about that, and I feel like he's just chomping at the bit to talk more about it, and certainly that game is a lot closer to release than probably people think it is, and that would have gotten definitely a major slot in the Direct.
Like, I could see that game in August or October. Those are the 2 months I see that game.
Yeah, that seems to make sense for me. No More Heroes is one of those franchises that, like, I know it has a really hardcore following, and I really like it, but I don't necessarily know if that's something that they would want as like a tentpole release for one of their open months, though.
It could be more of a part of a third-party month. Say, launch the same month as Doom Eternal.
Yeah, I think the game that is third-party that Nintendo is actually going to push is Bravely Default 2. That one is going to be one of their major tentpole month games, because they are actually the publisher in the US, and they promote it rather than Square Enix. So, yeah, that I can see like in the summer months too.
Well, the other big one, maybe not in summer months, but something I could even see as early as October, honestly, because we don't know how long they've been working on it, is Bayonetta 3. I think that's another one that's just sort of like up in the air. It was on their recent financial sheet as like a TBA game. They didn't have a release date for it, which some people took as, oh, it's not coming anytime soon, similar to the other TBA games, which were Metroid Prime 4 and Breath of the Wild 2. But I actually think it was just because they don't know a date for that game yet. I don't think it was because it's really that far off. I think Bayonetta 3, we've known about it for a few Game Awards now. And again, while we don't know how long it's been in development, I cannot imagine it would take them more than 3 years to make that game.
No, I don't think so as well, but I think that the situation around the world has changed a lot. And if E3 would have taken place, then obviously we wouldn't have this situation. So Bayonetta 3 would have been there, no doubt about that. But as it is right now, and that is also what I kind of want to move this discussion or video into, is the situation we are in. Because what we've been talking is a lot of what ifs. If we had E3 2020, we wouldn't right now be every one of us will be in Los Angeles. And I still could see Bayo this year, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's been pushed to next year. Also because it's the type of game that can benefit from a Nintendo Switch Pro. And then maybe we would see something from Ubisoft, since it's been a while since we had something from them on the Switch. And then Bethesda maybe could port like a Fallout game or something that would be more competent than the Outer Worlds when it comes to ports.
Yeah, I actually have one question for all of you. Do you think we would have seen Shin Megami Tensei 5?
No, I think that's a Tokyo Game Show kind of announcement. That's not an E3 announcement.
And Tokyo Game Show is still happening, but in a digital format. The same goes with Gamescom. It's only E3 that pulled the plug.
Same goes for Ace Attorney. I think, that game has been in development for a long time. We know there's a new Ace Attorney game. I don't think we're going to see it until Tokyo Game Show. I mean, I feel pretty strongly that Capcom's also working on a Monster Hunter game for Switch. I don't know if it's some type of port or something, and I think that would have been... Because I don't know, like you said, they're going all digital with Tokyo Game Show this year. I don't know if they'll still announce it via a trailer or something, but I feel like that is going to be a huge announcement from Capcom later this year. And I have no doubt in my mind that's happening. I think that has been in development for a while, and I think that's coming out way sooner than people think.
Yeah, I mean, Capcom has to be looking at the Japanese market, where Switch has like a 90% market share. And, an exclusive Monster Hunter, they would make a lot of money with that. Yeah, I have no doubt in my mind that's happening too.
By the way, there was also this rumor about Square Enix having some games coming to the Switch. And some may think, oh, maybe it's Kingdom Hearts, because we have had pretty much all Final Fantasy games that we can imagine have already come to the Switch.
Yeah, Kingdom Hearts would be cool. I mean, if they did like the complete Kingdom Hearts collection or something. I still don't know if they would port 3, if the Switch could really handle that. But I mean, I'd be down for them to try.
It's Unreal Engine 4, so you never know. The art style is definitely something Switch could handle. Maybe not as beautiful, but then again, it's the same engine as they did with Dragon Quest XI's, and that
that's true.
Worked perfectly on the Switch.
Yeah.
I think it's the best next multiplayer game, to be honest.
Yeah, especially since this is the perfect game for the entire family. Like, the games that you find in 51 Worldwide Games are not that complicated to learn, and even non-gamers will have a lot of fun from this. I just think this is the perfect ensemble of games that everyone, no matter your age, will find enjoyment from.
With the local multiplayer stuff, but I also think online. You plop open the game from your home menu, you go to online, and in literal seconds you're playing with somebody online. And even if you're not, you're playing a game solo until they're available to you. You
find so many games that are tied also to Nintendo's history of board game. Like, we need to remember, Nintendo started out as Hanafuda card manufacturer, and then expanded to making board games before they even ventured into video games. And I think this game is a perfect homage to exactly that.
It doesn't matter if you have one Switch, multiple Switches, you play solo, locally online. Because even in solo, I must say, the computer opponents are actually pretty challenging compared to most Nintendo games. So, in general, I think as a multiplayer package, but also as something you can flick on and play something quick. I am having a tremendous amount of fun with this game. More than I probably thought I would. With local multiplayer, once again, you only need one full copy of the game. And that's such a stark contrast to Super Mario Party, which is the game that NDQ previously worked on before this. The beautiful thing about Clubhouse Games or 51 Worldwide Games is that everybody else can download a free version on the eShop, which offers 4 games that you still can play locally. But if you connect to somebody who has like a full cartridge or a full download of the game, you have then available to the full multiplayer suite no matter what. That only includes like all the regular games, but also the mosaic mode, which includes like the multi-switch stuff, which is rather impressive.
If you don't want to drag with you multiple boxes of board games, then this is the perfect fit, because you can play things like chess, you can play cards, you can play even some of the favorites from Wii Sports, like bowling.
But I will say this though, like there's very little bad about 51 Worldwide Games. The only 2 things that are bad is maybe I don't necessarily like the way darts controls. It's not bad, it's accurate to the way it is, but I think the way you have to hold the Joy-Con doesn't feel natural to me. And the second thing is Ludo. I think Ludo takes way too darn long. But those are the only like negative parts about that game. For the rest, like, no, I don't think necessarily there's a lot of bad in this collection, because honestly, this is some of the most polished multiplayer fun they have made in a while.
So with all that in mind, would you say that the game is worth the price tag?
I think that's very easy. Like in general, I gave it an 8.5. There is very little like this on Switch. Extremely little.
Big new Nintendo reveal of the year. We know that last year was no doubt Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. What do you think it would have been this year?
Metroid. I think that 2D Metroid rumor is most likely true. We don't know what Mercury Steam's been working on. I feel like Samus Returns was an excellent game. They've absolutely proven themselves, and there were little hints in some of like the ending sequences of Samus Returns, which leads me to believe they have an idea of where to take the franchise, and they maybe sort of seeded that out to be like, hey, Nintendo, if you like what we did with this, maybe you could let us continue on with a mainline Metroid game. And I think it's going to be a while until Metroid Prime 4 still. I think they want to appease those Metroid fans, and I could definitely see a situation in which they're making a 2D Metroid game for the system. And I definitely feel like that could have been the November big Nintendo IP if we're not getting like an ARMS 2 or a Splatoon 3.
I think that sums it up perfectly. Like, it's obvious that Metroid Prime 4 is still 2 years away. It's going to come out, and it's probably going to be the holiday game of 2022. Like one of the last big Switch games before the attention moves on to the successor of the Switch. And I just think that Nintendo has done the perfect strategy so far, and the delay or restart of the development of Metroid Prime 4 will benefit them greatly. Because if we get the 2D Metroid this year, next year they could do the Metroid Prime Trilogy HD to build up the Metroid Prime 4, and obviously also show trailers for Metroid Prime 4 at E3. But Metroid Prime 4 itself will come out in the second half of 2022. No doubt about that.
Complete agreement with both of you that one more thing at the very end probably would have been Metroid, whether that be the rumored 2D Metroid or even just a new concept art picture of Metroid Prime 4, just something. I definitely think it would have been the time for Metroid. And yeah, the announcement would have been, I think, very well received, because, everyone's just been chomping at the bit for something positive to come out of that franchise forever now.
We haven't talked about Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, but we will have a dedicated video about that on Saturday with a special Zelda YouTuber. Before we end right here, I would love to talk about when we think Breath of the Wild 2 will come out, and if there was an E3, we already teased this a little bit, would the trailer end with the year?
Yeah, I think we would have seen a trailer. I don't think it would have been playable at E3, but I think we would have seen a trailer near the end of the presentation. And I still feel like if all this stuff didn't happen, we probably would have gotten Breath of the Wild 2 in spring. I think they would have launched Switch Pro alongside Breath of the Wild 2. And now I think both of those things are probably going to be holiday of next year.
Agreed. I completely agree with you. It's like Zelda needs that attention span of time, and like the way I see it right now is that it's probably going to show up again at the Game Awards in December. And that's going to be the beginning of the marketing push that is going to last the entire year until the launch of the game sometime in November of 2021.
And to me, a holiday launch for a new Switch model is the only other kind of thing that makes sense if we are going to get some type of Switch Pro next year, outside of what would have been like a spring launch around the same time that Switch had initially come out.
I think that's the perfect strategy, but Nintendo will not be talking anything about price drops or a Switch Pro until the first Direct next year. That's when they're going to talk about it. Maybe even wait until E3 next year. Like, it just feels like this year was going to be... Nintendo was going to come out with some solid games. Animal Crossing, no doubt, massive. Some excellent remasters. Some games we haven't seen in a long time, like 51 Worldwide Games. And of course, a new Paper Mario, more remasters, more remakes to celebrate the 35th anniversary of Mario, third-party ports, and third-party exclusives, plus one or two, not the biggest or most graphic-intensive Nintendo experiences. And I think that would have summed up E3 2020 perfectly for Nintendo. Zelda would have been 2021 no matter what, and we'll be talking way more in depth what we could have seen of Breath of the Wild 2 at E3 on Saturday, or if that video is up already, go and check it in the card right away. That is also, by the way, my birthday, so another reason to watch it. But once again, thank you so much, Rogersbase and Stealth40k, for joining me during this special Nintendo Direct if E3 2020 took place. We pretty much went over what Nintendo would have likely had in the presentation, since there is no presentation this year and no E3. But where can we find you, by the way, Roger?
You find me at Rogersbase on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram. Though primarily I'm on YouTube and Twitch. I'm streaming Clubhouse games and Xenoblade right now. And on my YouTube channel, I also do anime and manga reviews. So if you like any of that stuff, check me out.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter and on Twitch now at Stealth40k.
Anyway, thank you once again so much for joining into this video. If you enjoyed it, then be sure to leave a like, subscribe to all of our channels, or follow Stealth on Twitch, or we will see you in the next one. Bye bye everyone!